Have you ever felt like a passenger in your own life? Like you're in a back seat of a car watching the scenery fly by and you have no idea where you're going. You just hope the driver knows the way. Maybe you try to shout directions, grab the wheel, or anxiously check a map on your phone that has no signal. The feeling is a mixture of helplessness and a strange, unsettling faith that, well, something must be guiding this thing. This feeling, this deep human ache for direction, for a sense of purpose that feels both personal and true, is one of the great spiritual quests of our time. In my work, I have read through so much about the people, the thousands of souls grappling with this very question. And I've noticed two beautiful, though sometimes incomplete, ways people approach this quest for guidance. On one hand, we have what I call the asker. This is the diligent, faithful soul. They take to heart the ancient counsel. The counsel to, counsel with the Lord in all thy doings. Counsel with the divine. They bring every decision to a higher power in prayer. They learn to listen for an answer, for that feeling of peace or that gentle check in their spirit. Their faith is a patient, reverent dialogue with the divine. It is a beautiful and righteous path. On the other hand, we have what I guess you could call the aligner. This person's relationship with guidance is often less about explicit questions and more about a deep inner resonance. They just seem to, know the way. They possess a kind of spiritual compass deep within that gently pulls them. It's not about if they are religious or even if they believe in God. Their choices naturally harmonize with a greater good, not because they asked about every single step, but because their will itself is becoming aligned with a higher will. They live by a subtle forces, the quiet pull of true north. Perhaps you see yourself more in one than the other. The asker might look at the aligner and worry they're becoming too cavalier. The aligner might look at the asker and feel they are perhaps too hesitant, not trusting the witness divine has already placed within them. And for the next little while, I want to explore this sacred tension, and because I believe the journey from being a mere passenger to becoming a conscious co-creator with the divine, with true north, with God, lies in understanding. And then uniting these two paths. And to do that, we need a language. We need a map. Today, I want to offer you one such language. It's called human design. Now, please don't get caught up in the complexity of the charts you may see in human design. Think of it not as a rigid box that defines you, that predicts you, but as a symbolic language. A love letter from the universe that describes the unique energetic rhythm of your soul. It's a tool, fallible, like all tools, but incredibly useful for understanding the energies that animate our human experience, the many themes of the human experience. It describes centers of energies within us, like the head center, which brings in information and inspiration, or the throat, which is for expression and action. And it describes 64 primary energies, or what we call gates, which are like 64 universal themes of the human story. We all have access to all 64 energies. But for some of us, certain themes are more consistent, more frequent, more intense in our lives, more of a theme. Our chart simply points to an energetic hometown, the themes we are here to master and express with particular consistency. Today, we are going to talk about just one, but it may be the most important one of all. It is the energy that speaks directly to that feeling of being a passenger. It holds the key to understanding the driver. It is called Gate 2. In the ancient Chinese I Ching, the book of wisdom from which these gates are derived, this energy is called hexagram 2. It is called simply as well the receptive. It is pure yin. It is the energy of the earth, fertile and open, that receives the light of heaven and brings forth life. It is the divine feminine yielding, allowing, supporting. It is the quiet foundation upon which all right action is built. In human design, Gate 2 sits in what is called the identity center, or the center of love and direction. This is the very seat of your soul. It governs who you believe you are, your capacity to give and receive love, and your sense of direction in life. Gate 2 is the pure, raw energy of direction itself. Ra Uru, the founder of the system of human design, called it, quote, the direction of self. He poetically described it as the seat of a mystical particle called the magnetic monopole, a one-poled magnet that only attracts, that literally pulls us along our unique trajectory in life. He called Gate 2 the driver. So when you feel like a passenger, it's because, in a way, you are. Your conscious mind isn't meant to be the driver. There is a higher intelligence, a sacred inner compass that holds the map. Our job is not to wrestle for the wheel, but to learn to trust the driver. This isn't a passive act. It's an act of profound active trust. The spiritual teacher Karen Curry Parker beautifully renames the gate of allowing. She says its purpose is to set intentions and move solidly toward the fulfillment of the authentic self with complete trust that you are supported, even if you don't know how or what the support will look like. Trust in the source. This is the energy we are here to explore. It's an energy that lives within the individual circuitry of our design, meaning its wisdom often comes as a deep personal inner knowing that can't be logically explained. It's the energy of the pioneer, the mystic, the one who walks their own path. It's the energy that whispers, be true to yourself, even if no one else understands. Now, how this energy feels and expresses itself in our lives exists on a spectrum. Think of it like a set of sliders. There is an intensity slider. That means how strongly you feel this pull. A frequency slider. That's how often you feel it. And most importantly, a quality slider. The quality of this energy can range from its lowest, most fear-based expression to its highest, most divine state. Okay, so at its lowest frequency, in its shadow, Gate 2 manifests as what we call dislocation. This is the feeling of being fundamentally lost. It's a spiritual alienation from your path, from your purpose, from your source. It's the ache of not belonging, the gnawing sense that you are out of sync with life. When you're in dislocation, you might feel apathetic, directionlessness, wasting time and resources because nothing feels meaningful. Or you might react by becoming a control freak, trying to micromanage every detail of your life because you don't trust that there is a higher order. In the stories of our scriptures, this is the prodigal son in a far-off land, feeding pigs, having wasted his inheritance. He is dislocated. It's the children of Israel wandering in the wilderness, murmuring against God, their inner compass, or their Eliahona, to use one phrase. Well, that ceases to work. Dislocation is a state of spiritual static. It's when we've turned the volume down so low on our inner guidance that we can no longer hear it. It's the soul crying out, as the poet Rumi wrote, quote, "I have been a seeker and I still am, but I stopped asking the books and the stars. I started listening to the teaching of my soul." The shadow of dislocation is not a curse. It's a sacred invitation. It's the pain that finally makes us stop, turn inward, and listen. And when we do, we begin to climb the ladder of frequency into a gift of Gate 2, which we will call orientation. Orientation is that magical feeling when things just start to click. It's the inner GPS coming back online. You don't know the whole route, but you trust the next turn. You start noticing synchronicities, what we might call tender mercies. The right person calls, the right book falls off the shelf. You feel a gentle nudge to go left instead of right, and you obey, and it makes all the difference. This is the state of co-creation. You are no longer fighting the current. You are flowing with it. You are taking your hands off the wheel and placing them in the hands of the divine. You are moving from being an anxious passenger to a trusting co-pilot. The gift of orientation is cultivated through faith in action. It's the courage to follow a prompting even when it doesn't make sense to your logical mind. It's the faith of a prophet in my own religious tradition, Nephi, in the Book of Mormon, who said he was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. Nevertheless, he went forth. Living in the orientation brings a profound peace, not the absence of challenges, but the presence of a deep, unshakable trust that you are being guided through them. It's the peace that prompted the poet Mary Oliver to write these simple, beautiful instructions for life, and which is called Instructions for Finding the Way. "Stand still," the river said, "notice." So I stood on the mossy bank at dawn, breath quiet, heart open. Mist rose like a veil being lifted. A heron flew low, following the current, and I realized I too am following a current, always have been. The sun breaks through when the path ahead gleams. Sometimes the path is muddy, sometimes it climbs. But see how the wildflowers lean towards the light. See how the trees quietly point with their leaves. Today I will trust the light in me. I will step softly, listening as I go. Every leaf, every ripple in the water is saying, "This is the way." And even if I walk into a tangle of thorns, even if the trail vanishes into shadow, I will remember the morning and how the river gave me peace. I will remember to stand still, to notice, and to let the current gently turn me towards home. This is the gift of orientation, a quiet, steady turning toward home. But there is a level beyond even this. The highest potential of this energy in human design, we call the highest potential term called the Siddhi. The highest potential, the highest expression of Gate 2 is called unity. Unity is the state where the illusion of separation completely dissolves. You are no longer a passenger or even a co-pilot. The driver and you are one. There is no distinction between your will and the divine will. It is the state of perfect, effortless alignment. This is the consciousness that the great mystics of all traditions speak of. It is the peace that passeth all understanding. In what I consider the master teacher, Jesus Christ, embodied perfectly. He didn't just know the way or show the way. He declared, "I am the way." His entire being was a perfect expression of divine will. When he knelt in the Garden of Gethsemane, in the moment of ultimate trial, he modeled this complete surrender for all of us. He prayed, quote, "Not my will, but thine be done." That is the prayer of unity. It is the final beautiful release of the small self into the loving arms of the whole. It is the ultimate at one-ment. We may only touch this state in fleeting moments, in deep prayer, in the awe of nature, in the space of a sacred temple, in the act of selfless love. But these moments are tastes for our destination. They are reminders of the ultimate purpose of our journey, to return to a state of unity with our divine source. So, we have this incredible inner compass, this potential to move from the confusion of dislocation to the trust of orientation to the peace of unity. This brings us back to our two friends, the asker and the aligner. How does this journey apply to them? This is where we move from our spiritual childhood to spiritual maturity. The asker, the one who so diligently counsels with the Lord, is practicing the art of orientation. They are learning to hear the voice of the driver. But if they are not careful, they can become spiritually dependent. They can become, as the scripture says, a, quote, slothful servant. Afraid to move without explicit command, they risk using their prayers as a spiritual anesthetic, a way to manage anxiety rather than a catalyst for transformation. In the invitation for the asker is to begin trusting the person they are becoming through their practice, through their interactions with the divine. It is to recognize that as they consistently commune with the divine, their own desires, their own instincts, their own thoughts are being sanctified. The Lord is not just giving them answers. He is transforming the asker. As C.S. Lewis so beautifully and brilliantly put it, quote, "The more we get what we now call ourselves out of the way and let him take us over, the more truly ourselves we become." The asker must learn to step out in faith, trusting that their sanctified heart is now a reliable compass. They must move from only asking for direction to embodying direction. And what of the aligner? The one who moves with such intuitive grace? Their gift is a powerful connection to their inner true north, their Liahona. But their danger is a subtle pride. They can begin to believe that this inner knowing is their own talent, their own special genius. They risk forgetting that source of their guidance. They can become so comfortable with the quiet hum of their inner compass that they neglect the humble, essential act of direct communion, of thankfulness, of appreciation of the source, of checking in with the driver. The invitation for the aligner is to cultivate humility. It is to remember that the compass is a gift, that gate 2 is a gift, not a possession. It must be consciously cherished, calibrated, and consecrated through formal counsel with the Lord, and thanked. They must bring their intuitive path before God, not just for a rubber stamp, but for a relationship. They must learn that their powerful inner knowing is a magnified, purified, and protected when it is offered back in gratitude to its giver. Do you see the beautiful synthesis? The goal is not just to be an asker or just an aligner. The goal is to become both. It is to live in a state of constant open dialogue with the divine, while simultaneously trusting the divine nature that is being forged within us. It is to be anxiously engaged in good causes, moving forward with our best ideas and sanctified desires, while holding it all with an open hand, ready at any moment to be directed or redirected by a whisper from the Spirit. It is to build a relationship with God that is so intimate, so constant, that His voice and our truest inner voice become one and the same. This is the great work of our lives. It's not about perfecting our careers or our bodies or our bank accounts. It's about perfecting our ability to hear and to heed the will of a loving God, of a loving Father who desires our ultimate joy. So, how do we begin this work right now, today? We begin with the simple acts of practice. We don't wait for a crisis. We use our spiritual practices, whatever they may be, our prayer, our meditation, our breath work, our yoga, our time in scriptures, our walks in nature, not just to survive, but to become. The goal is not just to find a moment of peace, but to become a being who is peace, whose baseline is peace. I want to leave you with a final tender promise. It comes from the scriptures, the Doctrine and Covenants. And for me, it is the most beautiful summary of this entire journey. The Lord says, "Be thou humble, and the Lord thy God shall lead thee by the hand and give thee answer to thy prayers." Think of that imagery. He doesn't just point the way. He doesn't just send a map. He takes you by the hand. He walks with you. Your guidance is not an abstract concept. It is an intimate, personal relationship. In that one sentence, both the asker and the liner find their home. Be thou humble. That is the call to the aligner, to remember the source of the gift and give the answer to the prayer. That is the promise to the asker, that their seeking will not be in vain, and for both the supreme promise, it's the Lord, the divine, that source, that true north, shall lead thee by the hand. My dear friends, you are not a helpless passenger. You are a divine soul on a sacred journey home. You have been given a flawless internal compass. Your work is to clear away the static of fear and doubt, to turn down the noise of the world, and to learn to listen to that still, small voice within. Trust that voice. Trust the driver. Trust that you are being led step by step into the fullest and most beautiful expression of who you were created to be. Trust that every detour, every challenge, every moment of dislocation is part of the path. Even the pain. Even the pain. It's designed to teach you, to strengthen you, and to ultimately bring you to a place of unshakable unity with the One. The One who loved you first. Take His hand. He is waiting. Thank you and good night.